In the late 19th century, deep within the heart of a continent shrouded in mystery, a single river held the key to its secrets. This is the story of the Congo River, and the man whose journey along its treacherous waters would change the course of history forever. This is the Congo Quest. In the 1870s, much of Central Africa was a blank space on European maps. It was a world of dense jungles, powerful kingdoms, and legendary rivers whose sources and paths were the subject of intense speculation. One man, a Welsh-American journalist with an insatiable appetite for adventure, would rise to the challenge of charting this unknown territory. His name was Henry Morton Stanley. Stanley wasn't your typical explorer. He was a hardened, ambitious, and controversial figure who had already made a name for himself by famously finding the missing missionary, Dr. David Livingstone. But his next undertaking would be far grander, far more dangerous, and ultimately far more consequential. He set his sights on the mighty Lualaba River, deep in Central Africa, determined to solve one of geography's greatest puzzles. Was it the Nile, the Niger, or a completely different river system altogether? In 1874, sponsored by the New York Herald and London's Daily Telegraph, Stanley embarked on an expedition of unprecedented scale. He started from the East Coast at Zanzibar with a massive party of 356 people, including porters and guides. Their journey was an epic struggle against the unforgiving African landscape. They faced dense, suffocating jungles, navigated treacherous swamps, and battled tropical diseases like malaria and dysentery that relentlessly thinned their ranks. The expedition was not just a fight against nature. Stanley's forceful methods often led to violent clashes with local tribes who were understandably wary of this large, heavily armed group marching through their lands. He was a man driven by a singular goal, and he would let nothing and no one stand in his way. After months of grueling overland travel, they finally reached the Lualaba River. Here, Stanley faced his next great challenge. He had a specially designed boat, the Lady Alice, which had been carried in sections all the way from the coast. Assembling it on the riverbank, he and his remaining crew pushed off into the unknown current, beginning a voyage into the heart of darkness. The journey downriver was a terrifying ordeal. The river transformed into a series of ferocious rapids and cataracts that threatened to smash their canoes to pieces. They were constantly under attack from hostile warriors who saw them as intruders or malevolent spirits. Stanley's own account details over 30 separate battles as they navigated the river's winding path. Food was scarce, and starvation became a constant companion. The human cost was staggering. Of the 356 people who started the expedition, only 114, including Stanley himself, would survive. After 999 days of unimaginable hardship, on August 9, 1877, Stanley's emaciated party stumbled out of the jungle and reached the Atlantic Ocean. He had done it. He had proven that the Lualaba was not the Nile or the Niger, but was, in fact, the mighty Congo River, a massive waterway carving a 3,000-mile path through the center of the continent. Stanley's journey was hailed as a monumental feat of exploration in Europe and America. His maps and detailed reports filled in the vast blanks on the map of Africa. But his discoveries did more than just satisfy geographic curiosity. They revealed a land of immense potential wealth. He wrote of vast deposits of minerals, abundant rubber vines, and a wealth of ivory. He described a land ripe for commerce and exploitation. And someone was listening very, very closely. In Belgium, King Leopold II had long harbored dreams of acquiring an overseas colony to bolster his nation's prestige and his own personal fortune. He saw Africa as a magnificent African cake waiting to be sliced. Stanley's dispatches from the Congo were exactly what he had been waiting for. Here was a vast, resource-rich territory now mapped and accessible thanks to Stanley's expedition. Leopold, a master of public relations, masked his colonial ambitions behind a facade of philanthropy. He convened a geographical conference in Brussels, establishing the International African Association, supposedly to bring civilization and Christianity to the Congo and end the slave trade. It was a noble-sounding mission that won him praise across Europe. With his humanitarian credentials established, Leopold made his move. He secretly hired Henry Morton Stanley in 1878. Stanley's new mission was not one of pure exploration, but of empire building. Returning to the Congo, this time with Leopold's backing, Stanley's job was to establish a chain of trading posts along the river, and most importantly, to persuade local chiefs to sign treaties. These treaties, often obtained through trickery, intimidation, and a misunderstanding of what was being signed away, handed over vast territories and sovereign rights to Leopold's association. The chiefs were given trinkets and cloth in exchange for their land and the labor of their people. Stanley was effectively paving the road for Leopold's private takeover. By 1885, through shrewd diplomacy and political maneuvering at the Berlin Conference, Leopold convinced the world powers to recognize his claim. The Congo Free State was born. It was not a Belgian colony, but the personal property of one man, King Leopold II. What followed was one of the darkest chapters in colonial history. The Congo Free State became a massive labor camp. Leopold's regime enforced brutal rubber quotas on the Congolese people. Villages were given impossibly high targets. To enforce these quotas, a merciless private army, the force publique, was used. Those who failed to meet their quotas were subjected to horrific punishments, including flogging, hostage-taking, and mutilation. The severing of hands became a gruesome symbol of the regime's cruelty. The wealth of the Congo, rubber and ivory, flowed into Leopold's pockets, funding lavish building projects in Belgium. Meanwhile, the population of the Congo was decimated by violence, forced labor, and disease. Historians estimate that millions of people perished under Leopold's rule. Stanley's role in this tragedy is complex. He opened the door for Leopold, but did he know the full extent of the horror that would follow? He was a man of his time, driven by ambition and a belief in European superiority. He later expressed some regret, but he remained a key instrument in the colonial project. His initial quest for geographical knowledge had inadvertently unleashed a colonial curse. The story of Stanley's Congo expedition is a powerful reminder that exploration is never just about drawing lines on a map. It's about encounters, consequences, and the enduring impact of ambition on human lives. The river that Stanley traced from source to sea became a river of sorrow, its currents carrying the echoes of a brutal and exploitative past. From a daring quest to solve a continent's riddle, to a bloody path of colonization, the twists of the Congo River hold a story of discovery and devastation that still flows through the heart of Africa today. Thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on Henry Morton Stanley's legacy? Was he a heroic explorer or an agent of colonialism? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this journey into history interesting, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. See you next time.